Hello, my name is ZG, and I'll be discussing today whether I think IKEA will have success in developing a market presence in China and India. So I have three talking points today. One will be a brief overview of IKEA's model in the US and the EU, and then I'll move on towards its expansion in China and then its future expansion into India. So IKEA is a Swedish furniture store that prides itself on cheap, affordable furniture and do-it-yourself assembly. So a lot of its supplies come from developing countries such as Pakistan and Nepal. And one thing that really makes it different is in its store it has both do-it-yourself assembly, so you can buy a table to assemble yourself, and it also has fully furnished, designed, and assembled rooms, such as a bedroom that you can buy as a full set. So when IKEA tried to expand into China, it started with a joint venture to test whether the public would be interested in its products. And it ran into multiple problems, such as pricing. Because it was so cheap, Chinese families kind of overlooked it because they wanted to buy expensive Western products because that kind of displays their wealth and their social status. So IKEA actually raised its prices to taper it towards middle class Chinese families. They ran into problems with their rooms because they imported the same models from the West, which was good. It was just too big for Chinese families because most of them live in apartments. And they also located a lot of the stores outside of cities because you need the stores take up a lot of land, but they also need to make it easily accessible by public transportation, which is the biggest and most popular mode of transportation. So their success came from having the pre-designed rooms, so Chinese families could imitate the West and buy those rooms without having to think about and design them themselves. Success also came when they were able to build their own factories in China to avoid high import taxes and partner with local suppliers so they could cut down on a lot of the costs for their supply lines. And so over time, the products became more cheap, but also more well known to the public, so that it became more popular and more sought after. And it's actually the number 6 highest rated place to work for Chinese students. Now onto India. I think that they're actually very similar in their cultures and their attitudes towards the West. They definitely would like to imitate the Western designs of the room, such as a bedroom, and it is nice to have them fully designed so that they wouldn't have to think about and design it themselves. Now I think the whole premise of their do-it-yourself assembly could result in problems because it competes with a lot of low-cost local companies or carpenters that do it for much less and much cheaper. So I think that could result in some competition with very local suppliers. But I think they could definitely have a lot of success because we've seen in China where initially they've come in, they've had some problems adjusting to the local culture, but over a span of a decade they've come to establish their market presence and make it known to the public that they are reputable and people want to buy from them. And I think it might probably be the same with India, that it'll take many years to get familiar with the culture and to taper their products towards the population, but I think it could be done for sure. And if they can manage to get suppliers within the country, that will cut down a lot of their costs again and increase their profits.